Hi, this is Julia Levinsky. I'm the web production manager for Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and I want to welcome you to our Reeve Foundation Live Better series. Today we have family therapist Dr. Dan, and he will be talking about feeling and being lovable, and we would like you all to participate, and feel free to ask questions. It's an open forum. So you may use a chat box, or you may also call the number as well to sign in, and I'll get you that information, put it in the chat box. But this is definitely an open conversation, and I'm going to encourage you to speak up, and I would like to introduce you to Dr. Dan Gottlieb.
Hi, Julie. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the conversation. I see among the participants a couple old friends and a couple of new ones. Julie, I've got to be honest with you about this discussion topic, because next Friday, I'm giving a TED Talk entitled, "Do You Feel Lovable? Addressing Roadblocks That Prevent Us from Loving and Being Loved." So I wanted to use this to kind of test myself out here. So here are my thoughts about this. And by the way, I would just love to hear people chime in. So far, we've got 4 responses to the poll, and 3 people said they experienced themselves as unlovable out of 4. So if I may, everybody, I'll just take a few minutes and tell you my story. That when I was a student in elementary school, I began to get failing grades, and that was before we knew about learning disabilities. So I felt there was something wrong with me. I was either lazy or dumb or not very bright. And I didn't think I was either one. But I did feel there was something wrong, and I was ashamed of that. And I lied. I lied to my best friends about my grades. And I was ashamed that I kind of held that inside. I didn't quite feel as good as the other kids. And then my 7th grade teacher, I was a obviously insecure kid because of all the shame. And he was the first adult man that really believed in me. He taught me about psychology and convinced me I could become a psychologist. And I thought I would follow this man anywhere. And unfortunately, I did. And at his request, I followed him to his home after school one day and found myself in his bed being abused. And so much more shame was added on to that. And I thought, what do I need to do to feel good enough? And I thought, if I got my doctorate, I'd feel okay, lovable, worthy. And I did, but I didn't have those feelings that I wanted and needed. And I thought, if I was successful in my career, then I'd feel okay and I could rest. And I was in my early career. I'd been 10 years practicing, and I was pretty good, and I was getting a lot of respect. But still it didn't happen. And then I broke my neck. And it's not that I felt unlovable. I knew I was unlovable. I was too broken, too dependent, too vulnerable, fragile, too needy. Everybody listening knows those feelings. I was unlovable. So, what changed that? I don't feel that anymore, although I have to admit there are shadows of that I have. shadows when I feel unlovable, when I'm with the woman I love and I get sick or I wind up in the hospital yet again. I wonder, am I too much for her? Am I unlovable? So this is where I get to, and I'd love to chat with you about your sense of whether or not you're lovable, and why, you know?
I can speak if no one else wants to.
Okay.
It's a pretty related question. I do feel lovable, but am I too much of a burden because of the paralysis? I do currently have a girlfriend that I've had for a year and a half, but she loves me. She tells me she loves me. I believe that she does, but she struggles with, is this something that she can take on for the rest of her life? And from my perspective, it's hard enough to get someone to be interested in potentially having a relationship with me as a quadriplegic, and here I found someone who, has given me, her love, and is a wonderful person, but is it enough, and how to deal with that?
May we have your first name?
Jake.
Jake. How long has she been with you, Jake?
A year and a half.
Okay. And she's scared?
Yes, she's here as well, by the way.
Can she hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. You're going to have to get a little closer to the phone. What's your first name?
Penny?
Honey?
Penny.
Great. Spell it for me.
Penny.
Oh, Penny.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get beyond here paralysis and health issues. And I want to get to the emotions here. Are you scared of going further with Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know what you're afraid of?
I think I wonder if I will tire of taking care of him. I wonder if I can handle it emotionally, physically as I age, as he ages.
You know what, Penny? These are reasonable questions, and they're important ones. Will you tire of taking care of him? I got the answer for you. Yes, you will get tired. But remember, tired is not a permanent state of being. Tired is what you feel one day or 2 days. Tired goes away when you get rest 1 day or 2 days or a week. When somebody does your work, everybody needs a vacation. When you wonder about the long run, it's never good when we wonder about the long one. You see, all fear is about the future. And of course, we have no idea what we're going to do, think, or feel in the future. You know, you've been with this man for a year and a half. If somebody had said to you when you were a teenager, you know, you're going to wind up being in love with a man with some pretty significant disabilities and be with him for a year and a half, you never would have believed them. If somebody had said to me, you're going to be a quadriplegic, but you'll be happy, I would have thought they were crazy. So we can't predict the future. We don't know. But sometimes fear carries information. Jesus, I have to apologize to you both. I didn't mean to launch into a lecture here. But
okay.
Fear carries information. So some information here is you're afraid you're going to get tired. Okay, now let's plan for that. Not if it happens, when it happens, because it will, you know, you're human. Let's plan for that. And you're worried about the long-term future? Of course your body's going to get tired. And of course you might have emotional reactions that you can't handle. So, let's plan for that, if and when that happens. You know, build in supports for yourself. Build in supports for Jake. The two of you have to strategize this together if you both want to be together. But you have to be together in a way that works for both of you. You've got a whole lot of baggage here with this disability. But, you know, we all have baggage. You just have to find a way together to deal with it. And, Jay?
Yeah?
How does it feel to you when Penny talks about all of her fears? What are the emotions you feel?
I understand completely where she's coming from. It's not, I don't really feel personally insulted for the most part. You know, there's maybe a little bit of that, but for the most part, I understand. It's depressing in that I feel like I've given everything I can to our relationship, you know, for the most part. And if Penny, if Penny can't take me on, you know, I guess it's kind of like your question: am I unlovable? Meaning, am I not able to be with in a long-term relationship?
Yeah. Are you too disabled to attract someone to love you? I don't know. There's no way to answer that. I mean, a lot of that question is you know, also based on emotions and fear. But, you know, the first thing you guys have to decide, anybody has to decide, is do you want this relationship? I mean, and if you want it, then what do you both have to do to make it work? And, you know, my experience, and Penny, I don't know if this is true in your relationship, my experience is that the well spouse, the well partner, rarely expresses his or her needs or makes, you know, any demands. I don't know if you've done it, but, you know, rarely do I hear a partner saying, I need a break. I need to get out. I need to go out with my friends. I need to go away for a weekend. This is what I need. I need you to love me enough to wish for my happiness too, as much as I wish for yours. That's where it has to begin. Okay? I hope it's helpful. Penny, do you want to add anything in?
No. I don't know what I would add.
Well, was this helpful? If not, guys, email me or log on through the discussion, Healing the Heart and Mind. We'll have a discussion online, okay? Happy to help however I can.
And where do you do that exactly?
Julie, can you get him specifics? Julie's not here at the moment, but just log on to the Christopher Reeve webpage.
Yeah, I'm here, and everything you need will be on ChristopherReeve.org, or go to paralysis.org and click on the Ask the Experts button, and that will get you information or a way to reach our paralysis information specialist.
We're on the page. I'd like to say yes, we're on the page, but I don't see the expert tab.
Joel? Can you
help
him?
Could you put that? Yeah, I'll follow up afterwards with Dan to make sure you have the right information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So, I really admire, Julie, the courage that, Jake and Penny showed, calling in and opening up about this. This is a common discussion with couples. I wonder if I can do this. I wonder. It's, all fair questions. And some of us, when we hear that, just like Jake, the anxiety goes up, Does this mean I am too much to be loved? I don't know. I'd be curious if there's any caregivers out there also who might want to talk about that also. But things really change when we experience trauma. Everything, we absorb things that we inevitably absorb shame. There's a, Julie, it's a social wounding where we feel disenfranchised and different from everyone else. And, the human mind is, we have to explain that to ourselves in some way, make sense of it. And, we're different. We're alone. And often we feel we're alone because of us, because we're too broken, we're unlovable. Julie, I wonder if I'm the only human that's felt that unlovable. I wonder if you have in your life. You there? I have a feeling Julie's talking with Jack about that web page. So if any of you have questions or comments, please log in, type them in on this chat, and I will get back to you post haste. If any of you want to call in, I don't have that phone number handy, but when Julie comes back, oh, there it is. The number's right here, 866-835-1327.
Hi, Dan. I'm sorry. I stepped away for a moment. What information do you need that I can provide?
Well, I wanted to give out the number, but I found it.
Yeah, I did put it in the chat box, but I'll repeat it again.
I just did.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
Sure. So, for those of you who checked that you didn't feel lovable, anybody want to comment about why that's happened? How long you have felt that? What brought that on? So my pal Timothy Case said he's not comfortable participating. Well, Timothy, please feel free to type your question in or comment in there. We can have a discussion through the typed word.
I can add something more. This is Jake again. Another factor that comes in is sex.
Sex?
Sex.
Yeah. What about it?
I'm not very capable.
Not very capable of what?
Of having sex. My equipment doesn't work.
Oh. Your equipment doesn't work. Pal, you've got to expand your definition of equipment. What level are you?
C3, 4.
Okay. All right. So, are you able to satisfy Penny?
Not completely, no.
Okay. Are you able to enjoy intimacy with Penny?
We do things that we can, and it's good for the duration that lasts, but then afterwards it's like instantly depressing because of what we weren't able to do.
So, let me try to read between the lines here. You can't achieve orgasm. Is that part of what you're saying?
Yeah. That's, I'd say, more of a smaller part.
The smaller part. What is missing for you?
Well, I can't get it up, and I'm not able to really take control of a sexual situation.
Yeah. I gave a talk last month at a conference on sexuality and aging, and the title of my talk, Jake, was "I'm Too Sexy for My Catheter." And yeah, man, why are you laughing? I am. And the subtitle was, "It's way different than it was before, but it's damn good." one's definition of sex has to change. You know, the orgasm, the firm, long-lasting erection, all those things used to be what was important. And to me, what's important now, I mean, I'm C5, 6. What's important now is the sense and the tastes and the sounds my partner makes, and the way she holds me when I perform oral sex with her, the way her body moves, and as she gets more aroused, I get more aroused. And as she achieves orgasm, which she does about 50% of the time, I feel emotionally the same way I used to feel when I had orgasms, only better. It's more intimate. It's more loving. I was a young man when I had my accident, and I thought sex was all about just the orgasm. And I've learned that it's called making love for a reason. I don't know if I would have learned that if I wasn't a quadriplegic. My partner and I make love. This is a different way of expressing our love. It's not about a penis or an orgasm. It's about sense and tastes and eye contact and touch, where I can feel, where I'm able to touch with her. It's making love. And I've got to tell you, you're not hearing my wisdom. These are lessons I've learned from the women I've been with. When I first had my accident, the first time my wife and I tried to make love, she laid next to me. She put her hand on my face and slid it down to my shoulders. And then she got down to my nipple line where the sensation stops. And when she moved her hand below that, I just started to cry. I said, "Don't touch me where I'm dead." And by the way, I don't recommend this for foreplay. It didn't work well. Because I felt I was dead. There was nothing down there that was worthwhile. I was not worthwhile sexually. That changed over time. There's a Sufi saying that I love, and it goes, when the heart weeps for what it's lost, the soul rejoices for what it's found. How long have you been disabled?
8 years.
Yeah. What was going on while I was...
Excuse me?
What was going on with you while I was talking?
Penny and I are holding each other, and I think that I can appreciate and understand what you're saying. I think speaking for her, but I think more than Penny. And one of the differences, with everything that we've talked about is these differences in the way things are before and after accident. For me, it's not a choice to have these changes and have these compromises, if you will. Whereas for Penny, it's not something that she has to take, where I do.
No.
And
she does.
I'm sure she could, without a problem, find a fully functional man.
Yep.
That can do what I can't.
Right. But she might not be able to find a fully functional male who can make love. You know, the bumper sticker, a hard man is good to find. Well, maybe so, but that doesn't last, you know. That doesn't last. Penny, are you there?
Yes.
At the risk of embarrassing you, would you like to say anything about your feelings about this? If not, I certainly understand.
What was that? I couldn't hear you over your...
You know, I guess my background, to be perfectly honest, is I haven't had a good sex life previously, and I want that. I really don't know what a good sex life entails, and there is a big part of me that's very curious about what a fully functioning man who is a little more in tune to my needs and wants might be able to do. You know,
Penny was previously married, and so she has.
Go on.
She has, some, sexual experience. It's not, but not any fulfilling experience from her perspective.
So, Penny, may I ask, your first husband, was he a fully functioning man?
Yes.
Okay. But it wasn't satisfactory, of course.
No.
Right. Boy, do I hear that a lot. And your relationship with Jake, that's also not satisfactory, or is it? Or is it sometimes?
Honestly, sex isn't that important to me, but it's come up every once in a while. The way I describe it is if a relationship could be divided into two categories of, on one side there's the emotional connection, the friendship, everything that involves your feeling and closeness. Jake encompasses all of that. Physically, obviously he's impotent, and but also just the helping out around the house and helping out with kids and being able to carry something in for me, just the physical that's missing. And I miss that. I miss just having a helping hand.
Yeah. Penny, I got to tell you, that's one of the most painful things I experience as a quadriplegic, is not being able to help my partner. wash dishes. I mean, stuff she might not even care that much about, but it tears me up sitting there in the kitchen. It's anguish, and I honestly don't know what to say about it. This is going to have to unfold for you, Penny, the way it does, and for you to participate at this level, at this kind of discussion group with a quadriplegic therapist, I just have so much respect for you, for your courage, for your devotion to this man. Please know going forward, both of you, there are no rights and wrongs. There are very, very few rights and wrongs. So, please hold hands through this. Make decisions together. It sounds like you've got a loving relationship. And, you can hope and pray that it lasts, but it might not. Just go through it together. And if you can, make decisions together. And if you can, change those decisions together. And you'll find that your intimacy grows. And you'll see what happens, whether you stay together or not. But please, 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 don't give yourselves a hard time about what you should do or what you ought to do. All these feelings of helplessness and fear about the future, they're so normal and natural and adaptive. They're all ways of dealing with suffering, because that's what you're both trying to deal with, is your own suffering. My prayer is that you do it together. Okay, guys?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much for sticking with us here on this show on the web chat. I have to tell you both, I'm really very moved by you two and by your story. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to you. So let's see here. We've got a lot of comments, and I think one of them, I'm going to read these out loud.
I don't know where to see where the comments are.
Are they? Well, no, I'm reading them. They're private.
Okay.
So I'm going to read them and be quiet. I'm going to read them. I can't obviously type when when I'm talking, because I use voice technology. So we hear from one gentleman. I'm going to read what he had to say. I'm C4, quadriplegic like you, Jake. Not intimate for 12 years. Believe it or not, it's not due to me. She's not interesting. As of the day I got home from the hospital. I'm sorry, not interested. Just has no interest in the, quote, new me, plain and simple, told me so. She said, take it or leave it, which leaves us both frustrated. I can tell it altered her personally and brings me to the brink of suicide every time I think of intimacy. To think I will go to my grave without ever seeing a naked woman again. I'd rather die. and he said it's become a almost like a sibling relationship. Well, I'll tell you this. It might be like a sibling relationship because, you know, siblings can be best of friends or mortal enemies. I can't get a feel for the quality of the relationship. You know, is it angry? Is it good? Is it loving? Were it not for sex? And I have a feeling it's not. And, you know, I don't know if you guys are talking about this, if you guys are talking about your relationship, and if you're talking about what you want to do going forward. You know, I don't know how long you have been married. This marriage might not be the right one for either one of you. I don't know, and God knows I'm not making a recommendation. Obviously, I don't know either one of you, and I don't know the marriage. But boy, would I like to see the two of you in counseling having the ability to talk this out and make some decisions, because both of your lives sound awful. I wonder if you could tell me in this chat where you live, or maybe email me or get to me on my web page. And if you tell me where you, I'm getting, so I'm hearing that home's separate. She's angry about it. She's pissed at me from the accident, and I can't type as fast as you read it. Okay. My wife was angry at me after the accident. She couldn't acknowledge it because there was nothing logical to be angry at. But she was angry at me. In hindsight, why was she angry at me? I abandoned her. I left for work one day and I didn't come back for the next 9 months. I was in the hospital for 9 months. Now, it's nothing I did, of course, but what she experienced was abandonment. Our marriage was based on my being the powerful alpha male, and all that stopped and it switched, and she had to become the alpha. She wasn't wired that way. She was angry at me, and she couldn't acknowledge it. She couldn't express it because I didn't do anything wrong. And I didn't, of course. I mean, you know, I was a pain in the ass, but nothing major. Our sex, I was always trying to satisfy her. I was never able to. I always felt guilt and I always felt shame. She had an affair and the marriage ended. And you know what? It was devastating for me and for her. And as we moved on, we found our own lives. You know, we found different lives. You know, when I look back over my life, I realize that all of my friends now are different from the ones before the accident. And I had good relationships before the accident. I loved these people, and they loved me. But it's different now. Everything is different now. And you're telling me here in your typing that you used to have a great relationship in your marriage before. And, she says that she ruined your life. Well, you know what? Take that at face value. You didn't ruin her life. But I'll bet she feels that her life is ruined because of this disability. And, when you talk about fearing that you'll go to your grave without seeing a naked woman again, I mean, that's a big statement here. I'd love to see you guys sit down and talk about what you want to do. What you want to do, Do you want to continue to live in bitterness? Do you want to try to improve this marriage? Do you want to try to change the way you're thinking about yourselves and each other? All of that's possible. Put everything on the table. So please follow up with us, okay? And tell me where you live, and I'm happy to recommend someone. And like with Jake and Penny, come on the discussion board, and it's under Healing the Heart and Mind, and I'd love to continue this conversation and see even if your wife would like to join in on the written conversation. Okay. Well, thanks so much for that. I hope I began to address it. We've only got a couple minutes left, and we've got somebody with their hand raised. Mitchell, can you join us? Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Okay, so first, thank you. I want to go back to Jake, and then a couple of times I've heard mention of impotence, and I don't know where he's gone through rehab, but if someone wants to get an erection, I always say that's the easiest thing to fix. Whether it's a pill, or, a vacuum device or an injection, and if someone wants to be in control, there are ways to be in control through orchestrating things and through, other people listening to your commands and going by them. So there are ways for them to have intercourse in a way that would be pleasing to her, and like you and your wife, he might be pleased in watching her on top and being pleased. I don't know what her history is as far as liking that. And there's ways for the erection if you want to. And there's ways to be in control even when you're not physically in control. I'm an incomplete quad, but, I couldn't with my son when he was a toddler physically, but I could use my voice, to parent. And, I was 18, and I think I was a good parent, and I was in control, even though especially now as a teenager and 6 foot tall, I can't physically be in control. But there are ways of being in control in a sexual relationship, verbally. And so there's a lot of ways that, if you're creative, that you could maybe bring Penny the kind of physical pleasure that she's missing. On the anger issue coming home, and for the folks listening, I'm a sex researcher and an educator. One of the biggest challenges I find in couples that work together when the injury happened is the anger of the partner who is able-bodied. For example, one guy was playing hockey in the farm team. Another guy was riding his motorcycle. So there was a lot of anger over that they weren't doing something really important when they got injured. So I don't know what the context of the injury was, or if there's some predisposition towards not liking that behavior. But working through that anger is the only way to move forward. And And if they can't work through that anger, as you said, Dan, there are other options.
Well, I really appreciate your input and your wisdom around this. It's been very, very helpful. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for joining us. Jake, Penny, you were terrific, and I'm grateful.
I didn't catch the person's name, but I want to thank that person too, because I think that you did have some actually valuable tips in that short period of time that Penny and I were both looking at each other and raising our eyebrows at each other that there may be some things that you suggested that are worth trying. And so I appreciate that very much.
That's great. I'm glad we got a real expert on instead of the touchy-feely guy. The other thing, by the way, Jake, is I enjoy being in control in the way he described, and I also enjoy being out of control too. And it's fun to just let go and let her have her way with me. So.
Sounds good to me.
Listen, I just heard a giggle from somebody. It didn't sound like a guy's giggle.
That's Penny.
I had that feeling. All right, everybody. This has been just terrific, and I really want to thank you two. I want to thank this fine gentleman in this very troubling marriage that that I was able to address, and thanks to Mitchell Tepper, who's quite a knowledgeable and compassionate guy. Thanks so much to all of you, and we will see you next month. So thanks for joining us, everyone.
I really appreciate everybody joining us on the call today, and this please look for notifications for next month's webcast with Dr. Dan. So far, the last couple ones have been fantastic with participants really, joining the conversation, and I can't tell you how much that means to both Dr. Dan and myself and the other people on the call. I think it really helps a lot. So I want to thank you all for joining us today for our Live Better series, and we will see you next month. Thanks a lot.
Right. And